listening. I welcome you to Life of Love with Julie and Friends. I'm very excited today to bring you this special guest. I'd love to welcome Damla Aktekin.
Okay.
She is a wonderful guest to have on because she is centered in healing and sharing the magic of life. Damla is an inner child, energetic wound healer, crystal healing teacher, and soul healing writer who helps other self-healers and healers move beyond the energetic wounds of their inner child and shine brighter than they thought possible so they can show up fully in their lives and heal themselves, their families, and their soul community. Through her own healing journey, she discovered a unique way to approach crystal healing, which is based on cultivating a loving, co-creative, and respectful relationship with crystals that activates their limitless healing potential. Damla is the author of a life-changing daily practice journal and creator of the Chakra Bliss Vault Crystal Healing membership. She also has a podcast called Conversations with Healers and an incredible website called A Drop of Om, ADROPOFOM.com, adropofom.com. And on the website, she has some great resources and free meditations, and she even goes into some tapping EMF. If you're not familiar with that, it's a great resource just to dip your foot in. So without further ado, hello, Damla. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy.
Yay. Oh, well, it's just been great getting to know you real quick before we started our interview. And I just appreciate your transitions as a mother. And I'm going through transitions as a mother. And I love the synchronicities that we got to connect on this great day. Your daughter started middle school.
Today, yes.
Today, first day of middle school.
Yes.
I'm happy to be part of a distraction.
Yeah.
It's a big day.
You know, it is, I think it is one of the greatest journeys of my life, being a mom. And it's sort of what launched me into being a healer. And it's, the trouble with it is, and the beauty of it is, all at the same time, it keeps changing. So you have to keep refining your ground and redefining. We were talking about how to relate to not just your child, but how you relate to this relationship that's there, because the needs are changing constantly. My daughter is 10, and there are certain things blossoming and certain things she's leaving behind. And I'm finding I go through my own journey of getting used to what she's leaving behind and what she's becoming, which is beautiful.
And that is the tricky part of being a parent. I know I'm struggling. My son is a freshman in college, and he's 7 hours away, and he just got diagnosed with COVID, and it's not too bad, but I'm not there to give him all the supplements I would give him or do an energetic healing. I'm learning that you can do it, through long distance, but it's not the same as being able to hug him or, feel his throat. And, so it's a constant pivot and adjustment. And that's what occurred to me today is, can we use our experience as a child and use that as a platform to help heal wounds in ourselves so that we can be better parents? And what I mean by that is, like, can we reflect on our childhood, and not to say that anything was wrong, because everything's part of our journey, but can we use our strengths and weaknesses as we had relationships with our parents? Can we use that to support and supplement our kids, or should we look at it with a whole new lens? Like, what's your take on that? Do we take everything fresh, or do we try to draw on our experiences and share our stories with our kids, or does that just bore them? I struggle with that.
I do share a little bit because we have a very stark contrast with my daughter and I. I grew up in Turkey in a small town, and not necessarily with a lot of financial means. And of course, going through that, I feel the first thing we fall into as parents is like, I want to give my child everything they didn't have. and and then the second trap is to then find a way to, because then there's a huge gap between what I had and what she has. And there's a little bit of a grief that comes with that. And especially if you're someone like me, I'm guessing like any of your listeners who has had a few childhood wounding, or what I call energetic wounding. So that means going through motherhood and parenthood is a huge mirror in realizing when you're offering that kind of love and support and care for someone else, you realize and you become aware of more starkly perhaps the support and love you didn't receive. And support and love may have been there, but perhaps not always in the ways that you needed them for you. So for me as a parent and as an individual, it's not too different to be a parent or an individual, because at this point in time, I lived through what I lived through. And all those inner children continue to live in me. All those inner children, those moments continue to speak through me and my physical, energetic experience. So my inner work is and has always been, how can I listen to that? How can I listen to the needs of my inner children? And then the other way that I like to approach this, that's a little bit different than the mainstream, is I don't see the inner children as wounded. I see a quantum potential of your already whole self hidden in your cells that represents your quantum potential at every single moment of your life. So to me, that means through the suffering, through the pain, through the discomfort that's here now, you can go in and awaken a potential that was there, that the people that were caregivers in your life perhaps didn't know how to nurture, but you can nurture that now, and you can add that potential into your now. And that's a service not to you, but to your children, your family, everyone around you, because the more whole or holified you are, the more you can be a resource for everyone else.
That is empowering and beautiful. I mean, we spend so much time talking about the wounds, but I love that perspective that in that you have inside you, you have the potential to make it whole. And in looking at a childhood situation and realizing that, maybe they did the best they could, and you repairing that in yourself fixes in the I hate to say matrix because it gets so oversaid, but you can fix it in the field. Like you can take that, what you thought was a wound, and turn it around into a strength for you and your community.
Maybe instead of fix, which is like again, if you say fix, you're looking at yourself as this mechanical, three-dimensional, like solid being. Whereas in my work, hence the name of my website, A Drop of Om, I see people as a vibrational, liquid, quantum, changing, evolving structure. So what that means is that instead of quote unquote fixing, you could look at it as you are redefining and reconstruing your vibrational fluid reality moment to moment, and that changes. And the more you sort of fill the cup that's your body with goodness, with crystal healing, with love, which by the way, your body is a crystal too, the more you are able to see, oh, okay, it's like a looking at a snow globe. It's at first shaken, and then you can sort of gently bring things down a little bit, and then you see, oh, there's this little area that I didn't see before because I didn't meet those needs. And now there's another need underneath, and another layer, and another layer. And then underneath all of that, you are space. You are vibrations of strengths, probability that come in and out of existence in a probability cloud. So if you sort of redefine who and what you are, more opportunities of existence open up to you.
So when you're talking about redefining, is that like finding your soul, your purpose, your attunement to your highest peace?
No, I'm simply referring to your body. What is your body? Is it a solid structure that doesn't change? Is it a fluid, or is it a crystal? Because crystals can take in information, they can absorb them, they can amplify them. Is it are you made up of just solidity, or is there space in you? I'm talking about the physical reality of your quantum being. So you don't have to reach to a level of enlightenment to sort of redefine how you look at yourself. So if you were to look at yourself and see you are a beautiful, magnificent quantum electromagnetic and subtle energy structure versus something solid that doesn't change. Like you look in the mirror and you see your nose, it doesn't change. You look at your life and you see certain things that don't change. So that's pretty heavy versus realizing your energy defines not just who you are, but your relationship with yourself and your relationship with everything else around you, whether it's physical things or subtle things, or whether it's the life streams of love, relationship, work. So it's a sort of a new paradigm, or a different paradigm to look at yourself, that takes you not on a higher plane, but deeper within, and realize, okay, underneath this bone, underneath the skin, there's the soil of my body that's hiding so many treasures and so much beauty.
And so that's getting to your vibration and understanding you're a crystalline being of light and connecting to that. So it's when you're in that flow and you're feeling good and everything just is happening for you, and you're there. But what I've been struggling with lately is that the feeling of the compression, and I notice that there's a flow. I'll feel dense. I'll feel the 3D. I feel my heavy body, my heavy emotions, and I know that that's not where I want to be, because I know that I've felt the higher frequency. I've let the crystalline energy in. I've connected to the crystalline grid. But there are times where I'm just like, I feel like I got stuck. I just, like I told you before, I just want to lay in my bed and curl up because I just want the day over, because it's just too heavy. And I know that my sensitivity to the heaviness is part of my gift, because if you can feel the low, you can also recognize the high, right? I'm not a zombie. I can make choices. So, I mean, is that where crystals come in? Is that how you know you have an inner child wound, when you feel that heavy? I mean, what are the clues? What can you suggest?
Yeah. Let's dive into that a little bit. So I would ask you, like, where is that heaviness most felt in your body?
It'd be my solar plexus, my energy center.
Yeah, that was my sense as well when when I went here. Um, okay, I'm not going to go into a mini session with you, but here's what I have to say about this. So, first of all, when we experience any kind of heaviness, stuckness, discomfort, pain, numbness in the body, that's your inner children's way of showing you where you have the biggest potential to heal. The bigger the discomfort, the bigger the hidden potential. So what do we do when we feel any sort of discomfort? Let's go to your belly area. When we feel any kind of discomfort, we say, how can I get rid of this? Or we say, how can I ignore this, numb this, push it down? And in my work, what I help people with is to look and dive really deep into that belly. I'm just talking about the belly because that's what you brought up. So I would, if we were to work together, I would have you go into that sensation, and I would have you connect with the infinite potential that's there, that I call inner children. And more often than not, when I help people do that, they see a version of themselves in that area. They see a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old that is there. And it's not that I know exactly what you're talking about. Like you'll go into this beautiful meditation and you feel great. And then the next moment it's like, ooh, the weight in my belly. That's because it's actually exactly because of what you're doing. What you're doing is when you go into those moments of meditations and silence, you actually see, just like I was describing in the snow globe, what's next for you in your evolutionary step. And what's next for you specifically, Julie, in your evolutionary step is to look at your belly. And the belly has a lot of symbolic relations. Belly is where we first started our relationship with our moms. That was supposed to be the place of safety, was it? And then the belly is also interesting because it's a fluid place, and we get birthed from fluid into air, which is a huge shock to our system. So I'm just going about, whatever is coming to me right now. So for you, I would ask, like, what kind of relationship challenge are you facing where you feel things are perhaps a little bit out of your control? And to me, the feeling in your belly suggests you felt something similar in a childhood point. And I would also ask, what kind of change, a dramatic change, are you going through right now that is asking you to not breathe underwater now, but now you've got to breathe in air, which is completely different. You don't know where you are, like you don't have your bearings. So those are some of the things that you might want to look at. And then the next question I would ask is, what does this part of you that is feeling all this push or like compression need the most? What does this person that is, or this part of you that's coming through your belly needs the most? And those needs don't have to be like, oh, you're going to go get a massage or something like that. But some of us have sensory needs. Some of us need to be touched. That's mine. So I have all these gadgets. Like I have like a hand massage thing, and I ask my husband to sit near me, or that kind of thing. Or you can get a beautiful blanket and imagine that you're held, like just like being held in the womb. So that could be one. Another one would be, like, we have this tendency to feel good and relaxed in water in a situation that we were in. And then in this new situation, what are some of the things? Like in water, you can sort of relax your waterness, but in air, you can sort of feel there are opportunities for joy. Like you can begin to add perhaps beautiful scents into your room to represent the change from water to air. Or you can begin to place, you were just describing to me how you didn't have a chance to quite make this space that you're in your own yet, like place things that are sacred and beautiful to you. So I'm going off on a tangent, but basically your physical symptoms are a way for your inner children to connect with you, to communicate a need, and to realize their inner spark to come up. When you meet that need, that inner spark of that 10-year-old, 5-year-old, 2-year-old is going to come up, and it's going to burst out. And I can guarantee you it's going to feel even better than that high vibrational feeling, because you're now diving into the soil. You're taking the journey of Persephone, of the goddess Inanna. You're going into the depths of yourself. You not only know the heights and the rainbows and the unicorns, you now go into the underworld where the sounds are subtler, the scents are subtler, the light is subtler. So how do you go into that realm of your inner being and make a connection with that?
I love that because it's so real. It's a vulnerable spot because you're really, you're asking me to really feel what I'm feeling and get into it, face it, and then trust that on the other side I'm gonna explode into the air and be the person that my soul wants me to be, because I reconnected to my soul. And I know that my soul is also giving me these messages and the density too. It's not that my soul is giving, I'm not away from my soul. I'm not in my soul purpose when I'm feeling the density, and I want to work through it. And, there's no choice. Like, I can't function, so I have to figure out a way to get out. And I know in the past I've dulled it with maybe distractions, maybe a glass of wine, or just being super ultra busy. And I don't let myself do that anymore. Like, I know that I have to just be myself and deal with it on my highly conscious level. So your message is so cherished, and I appreciate that insight. And I never thought about using I write about the elements in my book, but I never thought of the elements as a direct way to help me get through it. I always thought of it as just like a great way to keep a vibration high. I never thought about it lifting me, helping me get to work through something that I needed to work through,
Mm. Well, your
to get
soul,
closer to my soul purpose.
yeah, beautifully put. And I want to add to that and say your soul lives in your soil, the earth of your being, which is your body under the skin. Your soul is at home there. So it's a lot about making that connection and not looking for that, oh, la, 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 let me get out of my body feeling, versus diving deeper into the body, making friends with all parts of your body. And I tell people often, I have a crystal healing membership, and people going in there, certain meditations and certain healings there sort of help you sweep the house, right? Sweep the house, do a general cleanup. And then there are other healings in there. I call them focused crystal healings, and that those ones help you look under the rug, what's hiding under the what dust is there, open up the cabinets, open up that drawer that you haven't looked at in a while. And I think, and I truly believe that we're now living in times that it's no longer optional for us. So that house is your body, and that rug is perhaps your belly. That drawer is your heart. It's no longer optional to keep the stuff hidden and not looked at and not dealt with, because we're living through such times that it's asking everything of us. Everything of us, every single cell is wanting to be alive and well. Every single inner child that is asking to shine in that chaos is wanting to come forth. And that's what's creating the pain and the suffering. So we either rise up to the challenge and say, okay, and the flip side of that is we're living through times where things are accelerated. Once you have that intention to go through every single cupboard in your house, in your body, in your chakras, you are assisted and helped. And there's all sorts of information and support available to you, including what I do and including this podcast. So please make an intention to look at those places and to get your house, your drop of om in order, because it matters. And the flip side of that is just living in fear and struggle.
Well said. Well said. And I just, I have worked with crystals, and I felt the power of crystals. I think my first experience was about 10 years ago. Can you give a little insight of your first experience, and what drew you to the healing of crystals?
Motherhood. I became a mom in 2012. I was a yoga teacher at the time. I had a blissful pregnancy, um, offering and taking prenatal yoga classes, meditating, chanting, all of the above. And then I had my daughter came to Earth through an emergency C-section. And the next day, I just started falling into this deep well of darkness, just like Persephone. What I didn't realize at the time was all of the stuff I hadn't looked at and I hadn't dealt with was coming up. I was just so low on being resourced, being filled, and like having any sort of coherence in my that everything was coming up at once, which turned out to be a blessing, but didn't feel like one at the time. So,
Mm-hmm. It's like so many things, right? I mean, an emergency C-section, and you were so spiritually connected and in alignment, and you just think about what happens to your body during a
yeah,
C-section, and you were
yeah,
you physically and mentally. Yeah, that's
and that
people don't realize even having surgery can just really mess up your energetic synergy.
and
It's huge, and you were so
that
connected.
was exactly it, Julie. I just couldn't. I felt disconnected. I couldn't connect, and nothing I knew worked. Yoga
Mm-hmm.
didn't work. I couldn't meditate. And here's this light being in my arms, and I need to show up for that. So I made a conscious decision to say, I'm just gonna go into any rabbit hole that's presented to me. And lo and behold, just one night, I was so tired and I couldn't sleep. I came across a crystal, someone talking about crystals on YouTube. And that is how crystal healing began for me. Except as a new mom, I didn't have time to read books. I didn't have time to memorize things. I knew what I knew about the chakra philosophy and the mythology. So I went through it pretty intuitively in the 5-10 minutes I would have in between nursing and caring for my child. I would just lie down, place a few crystals that I got on me, and then sort of go into meditation. And I would feel it wasn't like this like huge big jump, but I would feel a little different, a tiny bit more resource, a tiny bit better every single time. And I kept coming back to it, and I kept coming back to it. I started offering people workshops about it, and people would ask me like, what crystal would go where and why and this, and that got me thinking about, oh, like this comes so naturally to me. I just go in with the intention of connecting with these crystals and connecting with myself, and it just happens. So that began my journey of learning to teach crystal healing, which I quickly realized people have all these preconceptions about, like rose quartz goes here, this chakra does this, and there's all sorts of information out there about crystals. And I think I want people to think about the first thing I want them to think about is, where does this information come from? It's supposedly comes from someone lying down and meditating with crystals in the first place. And we're now at a time where the time of the guru, time of someone telling you what to do is over. So what I'm bringing to the crystal healing world is, why don't you just go experience it yourself? And why don't you just leave behind any assumptions about who or what crystals are? And from my point of view, who and what crystals are, they are your ancestors. They have been longer than they have been here longer than before. They are the building blocks of the universe, and they are going to be here longer than you. We are liquid crystals. Our DNA is liquid. We're made up of water, which is liquid, and plasma. And our fascia has crystalline properties like carrying electricity. Our fascia is piezoelectric. which means you can create electricity through touch, just like crystals. So we are in that way relatives, slightly different. They're solid. We're mostly fluid. Our bones are actually solid minerals. So you got to understand that when you're holding a crystal, you're holding something that's very, very similar to you in makeup. And it's also when you think about it as I'm holding an ancestor, I'm holding a relative, I'm holding a kin, and something that I'm wanting to make create and cultivate a relationship with, that changes everything, that changes your wording from let me use this crystal to get to this end result to what can we learn from each other, what can we discover in and through each other.
Wow. I that so resonates with me because I mean I have this habit. I'll go on hikes and I'll just let my hand go across the earth, and at certain objects I'm drawn to energetically, and someone would look at it and go, well, that is not even anything, but to me energetically I connected with it, so I can totally understand what you're talking about. And it's just beautiful to recognize that we have an energetic connection to these crystals, and that we resonate with them, and that's a powerful thing. Like you said, it's a relationship. When you're feeling alone, you can connect with a crystal, and I find that so empowering and magical that that you sense that and that you've experienced it, and it doesn't matter. Have you put intentions, or I guess you wouldn't put an intention on something you're interacting with. You're just opening up your heart to that crystal, or how do you?
Well, one of the things I recommend people is, first of all, start small, start with 2 or 3 crystals, ideally. And then you can see, do they want to be with other crystals, or are they happier to hang out with you alone? And then you can absolutely add an intention to any sort of connection or practice you have with your crystal. And the way that I see it is, again, you're a drop of Om, a vibrational being swimming in a sea of Om, and so is your crystal. The thing that is very, very special about any crystal that you partner with is they have the uncanny ability to connect you to other streams out there, streams of vibration. So you could hold the intention of, let me connect with my highest creative stream. That could be an intention. Let me connect with my most whole stream, or let me connect with a stream that is going to help me get nourished and supported and really feel well and whole today. So absolutely bring any life enhancing and life supporting intentions that you have into your practice. One thing I will say is sort of this consistency element is important. In any kind of friendship or relationship that starts, you got to show up and you got to be committed to doing it. I have created a journal called Crystal Healing Journal that takes people through a 21-day journey with, again, 1 to 3 or maximum 7 crystals. And then at each day that you choose to connect with them, I have questions like, what do you love most about this crystal? Because again, you're looking at not only a relative, a kin, an ancestor, you're also looking at something that is representing a part of you, that is representing a potential in you. Whenever you find something sacred and beautiful, like you were saying, Julie, and you bring that sacredness into your life, you're actually collecting those, you're making connection with the inner children sparks and potentials in you. So the crystals definitely represent that potential, that beauty, that is you. So the way you treat them, the way you handle them is going to be a reflection on how your relationship is with yourself.
Wow. So you ask the crystal to connect you to that part of your highest potential, your highest health, your highest relationship. Wow. I really would look forward to checking out that crystal book because it would give me a framework, like it's a cheat sheet. I've sort of been just floundering around and following the energy. And if, like you said, the consistency and that consistency to me is really important because when you fall down and you're feeling that density is when you need something like a crystal the most, and it's the least likely time that you're going to reach for it because you're just in survival mode. And that would be like, you don't think about it as, I need to drink water, I need to connect with my crystal, right? If it was part of your routine, it would just be, there for you. But when you're feeling that density, you might not necessarily reach for what
Yeah.
you need at that
I
moment
think,
that like you would if it was a routine.
yeah, I think for me personally, the intention is and has always been to connect with my inner essence, what I call my soul, and my soul helpers, and the soul of the crystal, as well as soul of life. So my intention is and has been always that connection first, and then you can add
It's just
other
beautiful. I had to
things
write
to
it
it.
down.
Absolutely.
I just write it down. Yes.
Because if you think about it, I mean, it's going to run its course very quickly. If you don't have a bigger than you intention, you'll pick up one crystal and then it's going to end up in your windowsill and you'll forget about it. You kind of need a bigger than you, and that's again my intention. Maybe you have another intention. Maybe for me that connection is how I can bring forth things that will serve other people too. So perhaps your intention is to be of service, or perhaps you just want to be there in your body so that you can be there for others. Whatever is that bigger than you intention, crystals and crystal healing can definitely enhance and bring magic into it.
Well, I just adore that message. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Pleasure.
So I encourage, if this resonates with you, any of the listeners, that check it out. There's a reason if you're still listening at this point, you might be curious, or you might have crystals in your life you didn't realize. I mean, it's funny, I'll go into people's homes and I'll see different geodes, or and I'll be like, ooh, that's an amethyst. I wonder if they're connecting to the amethyst or if it's just a pretty thing on the wall. And I've seen even in like TJ Maxx, they'll have framed crystals. And 10 years ago, you didn't see things like that at TJ Maxx. You'd only see them at spiritual stores. So I know that people are connecting more. Like, I see it around me. I mean, I know there's synchronicity, and what you put out is what you see. Maybe that's just me, and maybe no one else is seeing those crystals at TJ Maxx. But I really wish people to get any kind of resource that they need to help their lives run a little more smoothly or feel more connected. And crystals are just another great way to be connected to our sequence of what brought us here. I mean, we have this short time on earth, and if we can connect to these messages that our bodies are trying to give us, we can work through these things and not have to relive the density as much, and go on to the next inner child. There's lots of inner child wounds, and it's just like you're hitting these benchmarks, you're jumping over these hurdles, and we will get to the other side, because like you said, the only alternate solution is fear and pain, and we're not here for that. We're just not here for that.
It's just that to know and remember that's optional. It doesn't have to be your only reality.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. Was there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap it up?
I I feel like we've covered so much. This is going to be a rich listen for people. And again, thank you so much to you, Julie, for holding this space. And thank you to everyone listening. I have quite a few resources. I send out these loving messages, loving newsletters whenever I can. So there's quite a bit on my website at dropofom.com, ADROPOFOM.com, including some free healing meditations and crystal resources and all of that. So go check it out.
Yes, definitely. And I will put your website in the show notes. It'll be on any service you're listening to this podcast on. It'll be under the description, and you can find the link. And just so grateful for your message. I needed to hear so many things, and you were so kind and generous to go into my solar plexus with me. I really don't want people to think I'm perfect, because the only way I get to any growth is to go through pain, I guess. That's my, I have to run through the soil.
Absolutely. Yeah. Neither am I. So it's completely normal. And like you mentioned, it's not that like you're going to organize one drawer and suddenly your house is in order. So this is like lifetime work.
So blessed. I'm so blessed to have you in my world. And I really do appreciate your time. Just all the best. Much love.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to the next episode. As always, you can reach me at www.youneedapeptalk.com. Be well, my friends, and enjoy each day, as each moment is a chance to live the life of your dreams. Take care.